morning. It is actually good afternoon. It's not good morning, it is afternoon. It's a spectacular day and yeah, it's just gorgeous. I've got no coat on and so I'm going to move the gooseberry bushes. Don't know if you remember, I sort of made the first move towards fan training them, so I cut them into kind of a 2D shape. That was quite a while ago now, but I've just noticed that they're actually coming into leaf and just starting at the tips, so I really need to get them moved now, and they're going into the fruit cage. So yeah, I'm just going to move them, and then that means that then I can move the strawberries because oh well, I'll just show you where I'm going to move them to anyway. Right, inside the fruit cage, this is the patch that's going to have the gooseberries up against the fence, and then we're thinking about strawberries at the front here. Not entirely decided yet. And these are where the strawberries are now, just on the other side in front of the raspberries. But the raspberries here are really starting to spread much faster than I thought they were going to, which is great news, but it does mean that we just want to get the strawberries out of here and move them to a more permanent position because they were only thrown in here kind of temporarily anyway. So, is it going to be over here? That is the question. But first things first, I'm going to move the gooseberries in. Right, are you ready for me to dig a big hole?
Yeah.
Yep.
I am. I'll watch from the outside.
God, there's so many worms, you're right.
It's really, I'm amazed. I haven't all the way out the front door.
Digging like this isn't something we do that often on the plot. I mean, it's only when you're planting something that you really dig a hole. And it's really nice to go through and actually see how much of an improved kind of ecosystem we've got under there.
Some gloves?
I might just borrow yours for a moment,
Okay.
if I can.
We must try and get hold of some of those things, you know, that stuff you put in for any rhizomes or whatever they're called.
Hang on, for what?
You know, the things that when you're planting trees and stuff.
Rhizomes. Oh, mycorrhizal fungi, yes.
Yes. We might try and, we haven't seen it when we looked for it, have we?
No.
Good?
Yep, I think so. So I've planted these guys like right up against the fence and in their kind of splayed form, and I'm going to train them up like fans. So part of the reason I'm doing this is because gooseberries are an absolute bugger to pick because they are so prickly. So just having them in a 2D shape rather than 3D is going to help with that. But also it's just going to make them a bit tamer and allow us to fit more fruit bushes in here than we would have otherwise. Those are the two.
Do you need a wheelbarrow for those?
No, they're going to be tiny. So as well as those two larger bushes, we also healed in some, so we kind of made cuttings of them, basically one of each. So one of these gooseberries is red and one is white, and now we've got two like little tiny red and white as well, and I'm just going to put them in either side of these two. These are going to be much easier to fan train because they're so young. I can get them started early, whereas the other ones I've had to hack back a bit. Well, mission complete. I've been meaning to do that for such a long time. You see, they're just starting to produce some leaves now. So, yeah, hopefully they're going to be really happy here. Next thing I've got to do is tie them in against the mesh to kind of help them growing in a kind of fan shape. So I'm going to tie these in against this fence, being quite forceful with them just to kind of like bend them all backwards. And then every year when I prune them, I'm going to kind of prune them back against the mesh so that I end up almost with a gooseberry hedge along here. I think calling them fan trained is going to be a bit of a fancy term for gooseberry hedge, to be honest. But like I say, gooseberries are really, really tricky to pick because they are so ferociously thorny. And the gooseberries, particularly the green ones, the red ones are a bit easier, but the green ones, you can't really see them that well. And you're kind of rummaging around inside, and the thorns are absolutely lethal. So I'm hoping that having them kind of this way is going to make them easier to pick and easier to look after. So there you can see, like, I've planted them really close to the mesh and like lent them so they're leaning backwards slightly, and then tied all their branches in. Yeah, all of these ones, so branches like this, I'll just nip these off, the ones that are coming right forward, and then we should have a pretty neat looking set of gooseberries. Okay, gooseberries moved. I'm absolutely starving and we're just losing the sun on this side of the plot. So I think we're gonna go home and I say have some lunch, it's 3:30, have some food, I guess. And then we're gonna come back tomorrow. We've got a whole day of sunshine again tomorrow. So we're actually gonna be prepared and bring some lunch with us tomorrow and be up here for the whole day. And I'm gonna get, ooh, you're fed enough. So we're going to be really prepared tomorrow, and then we're going to get the strawberries moved, do a load of tidy up around the pond. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. What a beautiful day it's been today. Good morning, good morning. So some strawberry decisions were made overnight. Having thought about it, we realised that it's pretty silly to take up space in the fruit cage for strawberries when we're going to have to double cover them anyway. So like we've had this mesh over the top of these strawberries because the mice eat them. So we're not got to cover them for mice anyway. God, these have got so tangled that they've produced so many of these runners. Masses of them. So yeah, what we thought is there's no reason for the strawberries to be inside the fruit cage if we've got to double cover them anyway. So we're actually going to plant them where we took the gooseberries out of yesterday, which is the rhubarb bed. So it'll have rhubarb at one end and strawberries at the other. And I'll just make a lot of a low version of the carrot root fly cage and just use chicken wire rather than Enviromesh, because it doesn't need to be very high. The strawberries are quite low. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the solution. So what I'm doing is just digging all these up. You can be pretty rough with strawberries, to be honest. And I'm just going to bung them in this bucket, take them down the other end and clean them up. It's quite amazing, really. I only put these strawberries in spring last year, and they were quite tiny, and some of these are huge. They've really bulked up. And also strawberries multiply like there's no tomorrow by sending out runners. And yeah, there must be double the number of strawberries here than I planted. But I'm not going to plant all the runners out in here. I'm just going to put kind of the bigger plants in, and then some of the runners will pot up. So under this water butt that's stuck right in the middle of this bed is the rhubarb that I'm forcing this year. And the one that I'm forcing, I'm actually going to take out after I've finished eating it this year, because I really don't need 2/3 of a bed of rhubarb. I just don't. So I'm going to dig that one out, and then we'll have kind of 50-50 rhubarb and strawberries. And some of the runners I'll pot up and plant in this space where I have the water butt now. I'll just keep them going in pots until I'm ready to plant them out. And actually some of the other ones I'm going to take home and put in a hanging basket in the back garden at home. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the solution of having them down here, because I'll just be able to make a mesh that goes straight over the top of this bed. It's going to be a little bit tricky while I've got the water butt in here, but I'm hoping that the strawberries aren't really going to start fruiting until after the rhubarb's finished forcing. So I'll be able to get them in and get the bed made to fit just straight over the top of this one. Absolutely lovely. Welcome to your new home, chaps. Pretty good looking strawberry plants, actually. I'm really pleased with them. And what I'm going to do next is, right at the beginning you saw me, I dug a clump of chives out of the corner of this bed, and I'm going to move them over to outside the polytunnel. So it's quite a gnarly old clump. It's actually not been in that bed for very long. I'd only put it in about halfway through last year. But we used to have it in one of the other beds that we cleared, and so it's a real gnarly. So I'm just going to split it into 3 and plant it along the front of this little bed outside the polytunnel, because we're going to have a whole load of herbs in this front section here. And I think it's going to look gorgeous. Look at the roots, they're so thick. They're like mops. Also, I really love chive flowers. I think chives, both normal chives and garlic chives, are two of probably my favourite of the herbs. I love eating them and I love looking at them, and the bees go completely crazy for them. So these 2 patches outside the front of the poly here are going to have loads of different herbs in. We've got a sage and a rosemary ready to go in. I've also got some apple mint and some normal mint, but I'm going to plant them in sunken pots so that they don't take over the whole shebang. Well, that's the strawberries in. I'm really glad we kind of thought that through before we actually did it. I think that's going to work out really nicely. The other thing that I've been thinking about while we've been doing that is we're going to slightly change the format inside the fruit cage so that we don't have just an L-shaped path. We're just going to have the main path down the middle, and then where the strawberries were and the raspberries are, we're going to put 2 stepping stones in there, a bit like we have for the asparagus. And then on the other side, we're going to make, instead of how we were doing it where we've got the path down the centre and we were going to have strawberries, gooseberries, a red currant and a black currant, we're now going to make 3 aisles down there. Obviously the strawberries aren't in there anymore, and we're going to have space for an extra 3 fruit bushes. So that's worked out really nicely. Now we just got to decide. So we've already got a black currant, which we dug out of the old fruit cage, which was still in pretty good nick. So we've just had that sitting in a pot for the whole of last year. So we're probably going to get that in the ground soon. Then we just need to buy a red currant. We do have a red currant, but we've planted it around the back of the pond for the birds, because obviously the fruit cage is designed so that the birds can't get in there, or at least the big birds can't get in there. The robins and things can. They don't cause too much problems, so don't mind them nicking some. But we've got another one out there which we're just going to let to go to the birds. Yeah, so a bit of fruit bush buying is on the cards, which is quite exciting. I feel like my batteries are being like completely recharged. Just being out here in this like thin jumper, blue sky. There's an aeroplane going over now, sorry if you can't hear me. But just the blue sky and the sun coming across, and God, it's lovely. Yeah, this really is bliss, isn't it? I can feel, I know this is the full spring before anybody starts saying don't plant your seedlings out. I know that we always get this every year and then it gets cold again before spring actually hits, but my God, I'm so glad we get a full spring. Just having these, like this little patch of beautiful weather, and it's warm. Oh, it really helps get you through that last bit of winter, doesn't it? It really does. So these are all the runners. Mum's been potting them up. These are all the ones that I didn't have space for in the bed. So some of them will go where the water butt is, where I said where I'm taking the rhubarb out. Some of them will go in a hanging basket at home. And some of them will probably just leave at the top for other people on allotments to take. But they'll be perfectly happy sat in this little cold frame. I mean, they don't need to be in the cold frame, they could just be out. But these were the much smaller of the strawberries, so putting them in the cold frame, feeding them up, they'll, you know, turn into some really nice, robust plants. Oh, there's the rosemary and the sage that I've got to put in the herb bed. Probably get that done next week, actually.
Right, a bit of water. No rose though.
Show us your coriander, Mum.
Pardon?
Show us your coriander.
My great success. One little plant. You're supposed to have hundreds of them.
What are you doing, whirlies? Well, it's Monday morning and back up the allotment, but this time just to do a bit of editing and enjoy the sunshine, because we've got another beautiful day. And today is the 1st of March. It's officially March, which is pretty exciting. March is probably, I mean, I like all the seasons, I really do. And all the months, they've all got something going for them, but March is probably my favourite month. Yeah, so one of the things that really goes nuts in March is the seed sowing. And a couple of days ago, so one Saturday, I did a kind of what to sow in March video, and God, I was just like, it was like, there was so much to say. Like half the things I never got to fit in, because otherwise it would have been like a 50-minute video. But I did my best, and there's kind of a general amount of all kinds of things you can sow. But basically this month is just going to be full of me sowing seeds, and what's better than that? All the months have something going for them, they really do. But March is up there with my favourite months, because there's so much potential, and we do normally have pretty good weather in March, and things start emerging and there's new leaves, and it's just a beautiful month. Also, my birthday's in March, which helps. I just love March. Anyway, so 1st of March today, pinch punch, 1st of the month, no returns. Although when you watch this, it's not going to be the 1st of the month anymore. Anyway, still no returns. But yeah, the last couple of days of February, so we've had what, Saturday, Sunday, weren't they beautiful days? Really, just that bit of sunshine has just helped with everything. It makes the world literally a brighter place. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, having a bit of sunshine. So, what was I saying? March, marvellous. Last few days of February, absolutely spectacular. We got loads done. I'm so glad we got the gooseberries moved, because just when you start seeing those leaves, it's like, oh no, we're gonna have to leave them here another year, because that's what happened to us last year. And got the strawberries out of there, and those raspberry canes, I really didn't think they had survived. They were looking terrible at the beginning of last year, and they've just come on fantastically. So I'm really pleased with them. Hopefully they're going to really plump out that area. And then on the other side, it gives us space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fruit bushes, which is more than we were expecting, because we thought we were going to have the strawberries in there. Absolutely perfect. I'm really excited. So question for you, I'm going to get a red currant, because we eat quite a lot of red currant jelly. Actually, it took us a while to kind of understand how to use red currants, because although they are delicious to eat just normally, they're really seedy and it's more kind of for cooking. And then we made red currant jam, I think, which really wasn't all that to write home about. And then it was the red currant jelly, and wow, that's really good. Yeah, so we definitely want a red currant bush for red currant jelly. We're also going to plant our black currant bush, which is our rescued one, back in there, because black currant sorbet is something that is out of this world, and I really love black currants. I don't actually like eating them fresh particularly, but the flavour of making like blackcurrant cordial and blackcurrant coulis for ice cream, and like I say, blackcurrant sorbet, all of those things are wonderful. So those two we're definitely having. We used to have a white currant. We've still got quite a lot of white currants frozen. So that was the second white currant bush that we've ever had, and neither of them were spectacular. Like they fruited really well for a couple of years and then kind of went off the boil, and whereas the red and the black currants really kind of, the older they got, the better they got. So I think we're going to stay away from the white currant. I've got a couple of blueberry bushes at home, but because they need ericaceous compost and like specific feeding, I've got them at home in pots, and they're going to stay in pots. So that's what I'm asking for this week, guys. If you've got any suggestions of things I really must have in the fruit cage, let me know. Yeah, so as well as some making progress on the fruit cage, we also have made progress with the arches along the side there. So, you know, I did the video about arches, and then I've really bored you to death with the arches, because I then did a load of arch making on the vlog. Well, I decided yesterday when I was making more arches that I wasn't going to bore you with it, so I haven't filmed it. But do you remember when I was putting up the ones along the edge that I'm going to grow the French beans up? I had bought 4, but I couldn't fit the 4th one on the end, because the bed at the far end is one of the ones I haven't replaced yet. In fact, it's the only one I haven't replaced yet. But it's a foot longer than the others, and so it's closer to the fence, and I couldn't fit the arch down between. Well, I ended up just making it anyway and just leaving out the bottom bar. So I've put them on there as is, because where we were going to have it, which is outside the netting shed, we were moving netting in and out of there yesterday when we were uncovering those strawberries, and it was just like, just think about it, it's like, God, it's going to be such a pest to have like a constraint over the top of a shed where you're kind of moving large things in and out. And because that netting shed has got like the doors, the really big double doors, we've been keeping like quite big things in there. And yeah, basically we just realized that it wasn't going to be that practical to have it there. So now across that back wall we've got the, actually I might as well just show you. So this is sorry, Mum's mowing in the background, that's what that sound is, don't mind that. So this is it, I've got the 4th arch up this end in that final bed. Can you see how much longer that bed is than the others? Like it's, you know, I mean, it's not a foot, but it's enough that it's thing. And I've just kind of stuck the legs in the end. And then I've just started cutting the wood for the beds. They're all a bit wonky at the moment because I haven't actually laid them in, but they're kind of in the right spacing. And Mum has extremely diligently been digging out underneath where I've put the beds, because not because we needed to get rid of the grass or anything, but over the years she's been throwing stones on this end bit, like as we've been sieving the stones out. So like it was almost cobbled, there was so much stones in there, so we had to get rid of them. But yeah, progress has been made and I'm pretty happy. Yeah, so got quite a lot done along there, and now we've got the little beds in the bottom. That's gonna, like, we're just gonna pack that full of compost and mulch on top, and they're gonna be, you know, just like miniature little beds, dot some other things. It's probably going to be quite good for lettuce and parsley, I'm imagining, because they both grow really well under our main arches on the main drag. And also I've got a load of Lychnis seedlings and cosmos, so I'm going to get them in along there as well. Something else that was quite nice, poor girls, so stuck inside in their house because of the avian flu quarantine. I've just felt so sorry for them in this beautiful sunshine, and there I am out there like with my cup of tea, just like in bliss, and looking at them all sort of sitting in their little house looking really sad. I couldn't bear it anymore. But then I was thinking, well, it was actually a comment that somebody wrote, I can't remember who it was now, but somebody wrote on the last video that was about where I get my mesh from, and I said, oh well, we had picked it up from a place that was closing down, and I said that, and I said it's the same stuff that our chicken house is made out of. I suddenly realised, like, we could give the chickens a holiday, like just for the day, you know, up in the top cage. So for the last couple of days we've just been coming down in the morning, picking up the chickens, walking up the allotment, putting them in the fruit cage and leaving them in there the day, and they've had an absolutely fantastic time. The only slight drawback is that they have eaten all of our kaleets. They've just completely stripped the stems, which I didn't foresee. Ain't no kaleets on there, I can tell you. They're completely stripped bare. And the culprits are still at the scene of the crime. And we've only got 2 kaleet plants. We got another load down here, but they never really did anything. So they were our good kaleets up there. But oh well, at least they were happy. And when we were digging the strawberries out, you know, obviously the ground was all turned over, and that's their absolute favourite thing. So I feel so much better about them now that it's kind of occurred to me that I can just send them up there and they can have a bit of a scratch around, a bit of change of scene. And they get really good sunshine up there, so they're all sat out there having dust bath in the sun and just basically having a great time. So yeah, I feel less distressed for them sitting in their house now, so that's pretty good. Still no news on the Instagram account for the Aminopyralid reporting, which is Growth Collective UK. I'll put all the details of them down underneath here. If you've had any problems with Aminopyralid, if you've got any pictures, or if you've just got anecdotal evidence of having contaminated compost, please let us know down below. We're just collecting anecdotal evidence together to kind of demonstrate how much of a problem it is, because in the policy making it's been deemed as in not a major problem for domestic gardeners. So we're just trying to put that together, because I know I've had a problem with it and I know so many other people who have. So we're just trying to collect that together. So if you have had a problem, click the link that's going to be underneath and go straight to the website. The website's still under construction, but the bit where you report is all up and running. So if you go there, yep, so that's the thing. So this week, what's the thing? It's, if you've had any Aminopyralid damage, if you can report it, that would be amazing. Links underneath. If you've got any recommendations for fruit bushes that I should be growing, let me know, because I'm going to be putting an order in the next couple of weeks. I'm really tempted for like a little nectarine or something like that. But if there's something that you think I really desperately should have, let me know, because all of those decisions are going to be made very shortly and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, I think I've gone on enough now, chaps. I really hope that you had as good weather as we did here, because we've got today, tomorrow's meant to be really good too, and then it kind of peters off. And although the days have been magnificent, it has still been really, really cold at night, because clear skies, you know, it's just got really nippy. So this is not the time to turf your delicate little plant babies outside. Keep them all tucked up warm. My bedroom is slowly filling up, and like I say, March being the month of major sowing, my bedroom I'm gonna be lucky if I can fit in my own bed, to be honest. So yeah, right, I'm gonna put the kettle on and I'm gonna edit this video and get it out and go and sit in the sunshine. Huge thank you for all the really nice messages I got about losing Fleur last week. That was tough, but I really appreciate the messages that I got. It really does mean quite a lot, actually. People are pretty amazing on here. You really are. Alright guys, if you enjoyed the video, please give me the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week.
Here we go. Come on, let's go. Here we go. You've been out all day. Come on. There we go.